my first time reading it live, and that has been a fulfilling experience for me because I was a little worried about having emotions bubble up during the reading, and it happened a couple of times. So we survived it. We survived it. I'm casual. I'm wearing my Cubby shirt today. Good morning again, and welcome. We are on chapter 28 on the child I left behind. And we only have three more chapters left. Chapter 28 is lengthy, so let's get through that and see how long that one's going to take. Yeah, it's pretty lengthy. Yeah, it's like 15 pages. So, good morning. How do you like my ColourPop chapstick? Okay. My hands were shaking and my palms were sweaty. My stomach felt queasy. I had traveled 3,000 miles and had climbed over 1,000,000 emotions to get here. The preparation for this journey to Rhythmia in January of 2020 to participate in the ayahuasca ceremony was intense. But I had taken all the steps followed in all the instructions and prepared my body, mind, and spirit for a journey with this powerful psychedelic medicine that could take the participant on a journey with the spirit of the plant of ayahuasca, which was known by some as Grandmother Ayahuasca, Grandmother Aya, and to others as Mama Ayahuasca or Mama Aya. I call her Abuelita. Prior to coming to Rhythmia, I did some research about ayahuasca, and once we arrived, the staff spent a lot of time preparing us for the journey prior to our first ceremony. I learned that the set and setting was very important and the medicine should only be done with the shaman in a sacred ceremony. I had heard that the one ceremony with this medicine can be more powerful than 10 years of therapy. I learned ayahuasca had been successful in the relief of depression, anxiety, alcohol, and drugs. I second that. I believe that too because I'm living proof of it. And various emotional and medical problems. We were told not to have any expectations of the journey because we don't always get what we want, but you always get what you need. I learned that during an ayahuasca journey, you can have visions, get auditory messages, see ancestors and loved ones who had passed on. Some people have reported being with God and other spiritual figures, leaving the planet and being out in space, or having encounters with aliens, alien beings, fairies, animals, and other beings. Some had experiences going back in time, visiting past lives, or seeing into the future. I learned from people often gain profound insights, knowledge, and understanding in miraculous, unbelievable ways. I heard people describe the experience as if a portal opened up to deeper levels of consciousness or spiritual dimensions. I learned the journey can be very intense and difficult at times, and this hallucinogenic medicine was very powerful and psychoactive. It isn't a journey that should be taken lightly, nor is it a journey for everyone. I also learned through my research that this sacred medicine could provide a spiritual awakening and a personal transformation. And I was ready. Here, I was finally in the jungle of Costa Rica, where I knew my spirit had been called, at Rhythmia, getting ready to do something I could have never imagined in my life embarking on. I had no idea where, I had no idea where it was going to take me. I had no idea what was going to happen for me because I learned every experience is different and it works different for every person. But I knew with every fiber in my soul this was what I had been searching for most of my life. I knew intuitively the answers I was seeking lie in a cup from the vine of this most powerful medicine from the jungles of the Amazon. I stood in one of the two lines waiting for my turn to drink the sacred medicine with nearly 100 other participants, including physicians, nurses, psychotherapists, lawyers, business owners, executive, dancers, actors, spiritual leaders, and people from all walks of life. The chants rang out and the smoke of sage billowed through the room. While beautiful music filled the Maloka, we had spent the entire day before and all this day preparing for this moment. What to expect and what to let go of any expectations. Mind your business. To beware and understand no matter how hard it gets, whatever is coming is going. Let it go and allow. Set your intentions and to be sure to speak it into the cup. It was my turn. No turning back now. I'm ready. As I stepped face to face in front of the shaman, he looked into my eyes and asked, "Have you ever drank ayahuasca before?" "No, this is my first time," I replied. He has handed me a shot glass by a volunteer, then reached for my medicine for the one of the two glass pitchers behind him and poured the medicine in the shot glass. He prayed over the medicine and blew air from his lungs into the shot glass. He handed me the medicine, and I took a deep breath, put the glass to my mouth, and spoke into the liquid below. "Mama Ayahuasca, I pray for you to show me how or who I have become." This was one of three intentions Gary, the founder of Rhythmia and our teacher and instructor on this journey, had instructed us all week to use. And with that, I placed the glass to my lips and swallowed the dark, thick, murky liquid inside. The taste was strong and bitter. It tasted like molasses and black licorice with wooded tree bark, like particles and dirt swirled together. Quickly, I swallowed it and knew there was no turning back now. Once you drink ayahuasca, you're going to be on a trip for who knows how long. The room was filled wall to wall with at least 100 twin-size mattresses neatly lined up throughout the Maloka. At the bottom of each mattress, carefully arranged, was a roll of toilet paper and a bucket to use for purging. I had an extra precaution by wearing a Depends undergarment because often when I puke, I pee all over myself, and I learned purging was a way to rid the body of what was no longer serving it, and it wasn't uncommon to defecate all over myself or yourself. So I wanted to try to save myself as from so much embarrassment as possible. I chose a mattress near the door wall of windows so I could see the night sky beside me near the mattress. I placed my journal and backpack filled with extra pants and another Depends again just in case. My reading glasses and a blanket I stacked with two thick soft pillows behind my back and head, then laid on the mattress and prayed to Mama Aya. "Please come to me and open up every crack, crevice, and corner of my being and show me what I need to see in order to heal from the pain and agony I had been tormented with in carrying with me for nearly all of 50 years of my life." We were told the medicine takes about 30 to 45 minutes to begin, and that sometimes my mom doesn't come. Sometimes because the participants didn't follow the dieta, or other times for any known reason. I had spent much time, money, and effort to get here, and so I dearly wanted Mama to come and visit with me. I lay back on the pillows and tried to relax and get comfortable and let go of my worries and my apprehensions. I placed a dark black eye mask I bought with me over my eyes to shut out the world and go inward. Deep into the depths of my soul, I allow myself to drift into deep meditation and focus on my breath. Time disappeared and no longer existed, and I invited Mama Aya to come and visit with me, then laid back and rested, waiting for her arrival. As I settled into my mattress, I said a silent prayer. I am ready. I am open and I surrender. Show me who I have become. I knew the next 4 days of ceremonies were ahead and prayed for healing. The rustling and preparation for the other participants getting settled into their beds could be heard as I pulled the covers over my body. The smell and the smoke of sage filled the room. The lights were dim and the candles were lit around the altar and throughout the maloka. A team of volunteers who appeared like angels, all dressed in white, swarmed around the room, preparing the space while guiding and giving instructions to the preparations our participants as needed. This brought a sense of comfort. Chairs for the volunteers lined the walls around the maloka in front of a sea of mattresses so they can keep a watchful eye on us. So we need their assistance. Should we ever need their assistance? 30 minutes after taking the medicine, echoes of yawns and puking filled the room. Tears began flowing out of my eyes for no apparent reason. As I reached for a roll of toilet paper at the end of my mattress, I began to yawn repeatedly. As I wiped the tears from my eyes, another form of purging. I remembered as I plumped the pillows behind my head and grabbed a wad of toilet paper in my hand and continued to wipe the tears as they fell. I rested back into meditation, shutting out the racket from the others in the room. I fell deeper into meditation as the sounds of the others rattled around me. Another reminder floated through my thoughts. Mind your own business, no matter what else is going on around you. I focused on my attention. Mama, show me who I've become. The coolness of the moon and the beauty of the music brought comfort, and I sank deeper inward. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Reading The Child I Left Behind, chapter 28. Then suddenly, without warning, I felt a heavy warmth coming into my chest and throat as Mama Aya arrived to greet me. Anticipation and worry faded as I smiled and welcomed her. After 6 months of preparation, I felt honored. I would finally meet her. I had no idea what I was in for, but I knew in my heart this was a necessary appointment. The smoke of sage continued to pour from the small pot held by the shaman as he made his way around the maloka. The music rang out as visions of geometric shapes and designs danced vividly in my mind. Moans, groans, yawns, and puking echoed through the room as my mind faded into the visions that transformed rapidly inside my mind, from various colors of checkboards, shapes, and concentric circles to sharp shards of thick black forms and zigzag lines dancing to the rhythm of the music. Rapidly changing from geometric shapes to visions of toys scattered about with no logical rhyme or reason. A jack-in-a-box toy popped up out of nowhere, while swirls of colors and shapes of various patterns floated through space. So many toys and dolls were laying in disarray. I started to get annoyed and aggravated by the constant barrage of toys. Confusion filled my mind. Why are all these crazy toys? What is this about? Just as the thought left, just ask her, popped into my mind. Without words, we spoke. Mama, why all these toys? Your childhood was cut short. You didn't have time to be a kid. I thought you enjoyed some fun. You need to play. The message landed hard. Grief and sadness slapped me as I felt the loss of my childhood. I could hear her, but I couldn't see her. I knew Mama Aya was with me. Her presence was strong and powerful. She had authority over me and my journey. Just like a drill instructor, she had filled my attention, My wounds were profound and buried so deep that memory alone did not recall them. Although we had just met, my trust in her was complete. I surrendered. All my sensations flooded my body. She moved around inside of me like she was taking inventory of every part and checking every system, like a car mechanic when diagnosing a problem. My abdomen contoured as she swarmed inside it. I could feel her working on my lower chakras. First the root chakra, then the sacral, and finally the solar plexus. My body winced in pain as she pushed on the area under my left rib that I had been so worried about for years. My hips shuffled back and forth as my legs, spine were manipulated as if I were being adjusted by a chiropractor. Tears continued to stream down my face, soaking my eye mask. My intention played in the back of my mind like the music in the background. As she continued to work through my body, who have I become? What will she show me? I speculated for a second, then suddenly I was ushered off like Ebenezer Scrooge as she took me back to an important memory and vision of various life experiences. First stop, the ghettos of Detroit, facing the young man who had hurt me more than any other being on this planet. I saw a little 12-year-old girl who was thrusted into a world of adulthood at 9. Thrown from pillar to post, abused and lost in the world, searching for love and someone who could rescue her. Right on, Charlie arrived. His high, his shoulders length hair hung in waves, and his blue eyes were piercing. He was 15, cocky and cute. He looked like one of the heartthrob poster boys that hung on the bedroom wall of every teenage girl in their 17s and 18s. We looked When he looked away, his eyes softened as they penetrated me. My heart melted as oxytocin erupted inside, sending a consuming feeling I had never felt through every cell in my body. I felt like the most important person in the world as his eyes fell on me. We came together as two broken people forged into destiny, fraught with pain and destruction. My heart beckoned back to the feeling of falling in love for the first time and all of those emotions that I felt for him. Then sadness rushed in from the pain of the hurt, rejection, judgment, violence, and abuse I endured. I began to cry as these memories flooded in. Why couldn't he love me? I loved him so much and tried so hard. Why did he hurt me constantly? Why was he so mean? Why did he make it his mission to degenerate me into our own child or pour lasting poison in her mind against me? Why did he choose me if all I was going to be was his punching bag? Why? I cried as I pondered those questions and relived the 4 years of agony and felt the brokenheartedness all over again of my 16-year-old self. I heard Mama whisper, he feared your love and was jealous of you because he didn't think he was worthy of you. And he couldn't love you because he didn't love himself. He was a hurt little boy and he took his anger and pain out on you. As that message hung on the hearts of the strings of my heart and the sadness settled in, quickly I flashed through time and in the blink of an eye, the next stop, the greatest heartache of my life, I arrived at Leah's bedside. She was grown, battered, and broken from a lifetime of shattered hopes. Her small, thinly weathered body lay curled up on the bed. Her beautiful ash blonde curly hair was pulled up in a ponytail on her head, and tears flowed from her sad blue eyes. Sobs from her pain and her sorrow were palpable. The pain of her suffering filled me with guilt and shame as it took me back to a time when she was nearly 3 years old and I'd left her with her grandmother. I sobbed for her and the hell she endured in my absence. Her wounds were dark and deep. I felt them as they were my own, and they consumed me. Her feeling of being lost, alone, rejected, abandoned, misunderstood poured over me like ragged rocks tumbling from an avalanche. All those feelings faded. A rush of anger, hurt, and pain from being abandoned and rejected flooded me, and I doubled over in heartbreak. Good morning. As if that pain was not enough, another wave of regret, sadness, and shame for leaving her nearly consumed me. I could see my broken 16-year-old self mentally depleted, all odds against her, financially unstable, feeling so broken, suicidal, and hopeless, making a decision that would dig a wound so deep it would cost a lifetime of pain and suffering. The misery was unbearable, and I sobbed. I wished so many times that I could take back that decision to leave her when she was so little and needed me the most. I wish I could go back and change things. Right in front of me, I could see the damage my mistakes had caused her, and it was painful. I recognized the years of reckless decisions she made were out of desperation for love and acceptance. Her anger and rejection toward me reminded me of Charlie, and I felt it all over again. I saw her entire life and choices she made and how they pulled her down into poverty, turmoil, chaos, and hell. I looked at her and saw what I had feared would have come off me if I stayed with Charlie. I shuddered. I felt as if I would collapse and had to turn away. Oh my God, so painful. While still soaking in the piercing pain, instantly I saw my mother and felt her rejection when I needed her the most. When I was 14 years old with a 6 month old baby, when she told me she was moving into the suburbs with Ben, but I wasn't invited. The pain of that moment spilled over me like hot coals and I sobbed. Mama Aya showed me that mother was abandoned herself at age 3 when her father died, and again at 15 when her mother died. I could see clearly how the mother wound of abandonment, rejection, and needing love and finding it in all the wrong places was in our DNA and ran deep generationally, leaving a pain trail along the way. Just as I was catching my breath and finding a moment of relief, I heard Mama Aya say, "You have another one you abandoned." I felt like a dagger was going through my heart and I began to tremble as I realized I wasn't going to hide anything from her. My next destination, the second worst decision and regret of my life. I grabbed my face and winced in anguish, trying to shield my eyes. I felt like I had hit a brick wall and my knees felt like they were going to buckle beneath me. Sweat pooled around my neck and my breathing became labored. I could feel my body pulling back, hoping to disappear. Just as I was pulling away and trying to shield myself from the pain, my son appeared before me. I couldn't believe my eyes. He was beautiful and perfect. He greeted me with his love and sadness. I wondered that his I wondered what his name was, and instantly he said to me, "Xander," and I knew that was right. He was 2 or 3 years old, so innocent and small, and I could feel so much love and pain in his eyes gaze into me. "Why didn't you have me, Mommy? You didn't even give me a chance." Waves of pain rattled through my body like a machine gun ripping through my flesh. tearing my heart into pieces. I gasped and wailed in anguish. I could feel the pain and suffering coming from my two children simultaneously for the loss of a mother they longed for but never got. What a terrible, awful mother I am. I felt like the worst piece of shit on the planet. The pain was more than I thought I could bear. I felt the weight of my heart crushing in on top of me, and I didn't think I would survive the pain. The medicine inside my gut swirled around like rotten sewage. Water filled my mouth, and I knew I had to puke. I raised up quickly. It felt as though I was levitating to the end of the mattress, and I grabbed my bucket and began to puke from the depths of my soul, screaming out in a wail that could peel the paint off the walls. In an instant, four volunteers and a shaman were standing all around me, fanning me and spewing water all over me from the bottle of sacred potion they carried with them. I continued to puke profusely and didn't think it would ever end. The shaman sang and chanted over me until the violent episode of purging subsided. I remembered the instructions from the training and looked into the bucket and asked, "What is this?" I instantly heard, "This is the pain and sorrow from a lifetime of guilt, shame, and blame that you have been carrying under the left rib for your children. It has been calling for your attention." I let out a huge sigh of gratitude, then curled up into a fetal position on my mattress and continued to cry. A beautiful volunteer with long black hair sat with me, handing me tissues and wiping my tears. She nurtured me like a loving mother comforting her wounded child. I didn't feel like I deserved her kindness, but I was grateful. She was so loving and kind to me. I have never felt so much emotional pain in my life. I welcomed her gentle touch and warm spirit. Individually, Xander, then Leah came to me, and I walked and I wailed as I thought about the misfortune of them having me as their mother. I lay in my misery. Xander came over to me and peered into his I peered into his little face and wept. I thought back to the time in the fall of 1999 when I got pregnant with him. Soon after I arrived in Virginia, Tom and I were in a bad place in our relationship, and he had just told me he wanted to separate and was leaving to return to Michigan. We talked about the pregnancy, and we both knew that this was not the time for us to have a child. I thought long and hard about it, but after everything I had been through with Leah, I just didn't have the strength to have a child, especially if Tom and I weren't staying together. We agreed that this was the best to terminate the pregnancy. The anguish I felt as I started, the anguish I felt as I stared at his beautiful little boy consumed me with guilt and shame. I looked at him and said, "I am so, so, so sorry. I couldn't even ask him to forgive me. I was so ashamed." Yet without hesitation, he looked at me. "I forgive you, Mommy." Oh my God. My gut curdled and I shouted in pain and regret. "How could I have done this to you? I didn't even give you a chance. I'm so sorry." The reality of this grave decision pierced me, and I wailed in horror and regret. He came over and curled up to me to comfort me as I cried. He transformed into a little baby and began to breastfeed and allowed me to nurture him. I held him close and loved him with every ounce of my being and felt gratitude and unbelievable joy. I lingered there with him for a little while. Then I went to Leah and tried to nurture her. She stood with her arms folded tightly in front of her, with her brow furrowed and her eyes piercing me. I could feel her anger and broken heart, and I crumbled in sorrow. I tried to reach for her, but she turned away from me and wouldn't let me come near her. I could feel her feelings as if they were my own. She didn't trust me and couldn't allow me to hurt her again. I could feel that she was everything in my life, was more important than her. She never felt loved and accepted by me for who she truly was. I could feel how I had hurt her. I was engulfed in sorrow, regret, and pain from the hell I had caused her. I loved her so much, but I didn't know how to love her. This wound ran deep and was so painful to face. I squirmed and contoured, trying to escape it. But the more I tried to run, the worse it got. I laid in misery, grieving for her, and bore the pain of the difficult decision I had to make. I wouldn't find any relief or comfort from Leah. There was no chance she was going to let me get close to her. This wound was far too deep and would take much more time and effort to heal. There was a call from another cup of medicine where we were told if we heard the call, then we should drink and not think. So I called for support to help me get back up and get another cup, then return to my mattress. It wasn't long and I was back in the medicine. Grandmother Desi came to me. She was my mother's mom and part Cherokee Indian, which I felt deeply in my DNA and knew this tribal blood ran thick within me. I even considered that this heritage drew my soul to this sacred medicine. I had never met her. She had died before I was born, but I recognized her. She took me by the hand and led me out the top of the large hill and said, "You are the one we have been waiting for. You have come to heal the generational curse." She took her hand and waved it and showed me 7 generations behind me and 7 generations in front of me. I could see her, my mother, and the many other women from generations past who let men dominate and destroy them. I could see they were weak and broken from the abuse. I could also see Leah and Sydney and the generations ahead of them. She said, "Angel, you are very strong and have come to carry these wounds, so we may all be healed. When you heal, we heal." I knew instantly had that I knew instantly this was what had called me here. I knew this was my purpose. I came to heal so we all could have an opportunity to heal. As soon as she said this, she was gone. Then Jesus came to me. He asked me to follow him to the cave where he spent 40 days and 40 nights and was tempted by the devil. I could feel the struggle he had with Satan as he offered him the whole world. He then took me out on the edge of the world and I could see everything. He showed me all of the material things of the world and he showed me how he seduced us. I told Jesus I struggled with all the material things I had accumulated and put before my kids out of need to feel secure and helpless as a young girl. I told him everything materially I ever wanted, but I wasn't happy. I felt empty inside. He looked at me and said, "The devil is our ego, and there is an ongoing struggle within us between the material and spiritual. You can have both if you understand which one is the master and which one is the servant. Don't let the material own you." He then looked at me with compassion and said, "You are a healer. You are a warrior. You came into this world to help others find their healing. Don't get caught up in material things of this world." Next, during the ayahuasca journey, I arrived at the VA hospital in Salem, Virginia, next to the bedside of Daddy as he was dying. After Hazel came into my dad's life, I lost him. When he was sick and dying of cancer, I tried to visit, but my trip, she made my every trip a hell. Good morning. I didn't go visit him when he was near death because I was angry with him over how he let Hazel treat me, and he died without me seeing him again. Mama Aya told me to his bedside so I can reconcile with him. We talked about the pain I carried over the rejection I felt by him over Hazel. I told him I didn't come to see him before he died because I was angry, but I regretted it. We connected and I felt our love deeply. We forgave each other for any past pain and hurt that was caused. I held his hand as he was dying, and there with him as he took his last breath. I felt comfort in knowing he wasn't alone when he died, and it made my heart feel loved and complete. The message, hurt people, came to me, and I knew this was had to happen not only between me and my dad, but also between me and Leah. At this point, I needed fresh air. I decided to go outside and lie down on a bench. The sky was clear, and all I could see are a million stars flickering through the darkness. The beauty of the light of the night sky was spectacular. Downloads started happening or coming through from Mama Aya, and my intention came to the surface. Who have I become? I am love. I am strong. I am independent. I am a creator and visionary. I am a healer. I am a helper. I am a mother who is deeply wounded. I am hiding and reclusive because of my pain. I became like my parents. They rejected me. I rejected my children and rejected myself. I medicated with I medicated my pain with alcohol. I am a worrier. I leaned into her messages and I could accept it. So much information and pain, yet it all felt so necessary. Over the next 3 days of ceremony at Rhythmia with Mama Ayahuasca, she sent me back to see Leah again. Leah was lying in her bed, so brokenhearted because her husband Brad had left her for another woman, just like Charlie had done to me. She cried so hard to love him. She tried so hard to fix and rescue him, but he disappointed her at every turn. I could feel her pain for hours. I lay and felt the rejection, disappointment, blame, shame, guilt, disgust, regret, loss, grief, and all of her emotions as if they were my own. I cried over Brad leaving her and wallowed in her sadness. All the pain I felt when Charlie left me rushed back in, and I cried for Leah and for my younger self, and it was sheer torment. Jesus came to me and said, I am the light. Come and walk with me. I wanted to go, but I couldn't leave Leah and chose to stay with her, suffering rather than going into the light. I felt like I needed to fix this for her. I blamed myself and felt like it was all my fault. I could not stand to see her suffering so much, so I tried to take it from her. Jesus looked at me in my suffering and said, when you fix you, she can heal. When I returned home, I struggled transitioning back into my life. For weeks, I was unsettled and couldn't rest. I needed help, but didn't know where to turn. There was no integration aftercare program at Rhythmia, and I needed help. I felt the need for a tribe, but I didn't know where to look. I didn't know anyone who had done ayahuasca and didn't know where to turn. I could now relate with the client who needed help so long ago who had gone to Ecuador to do ayahuasca, which at the time I thought was crazy. The life I left before going to Costa Rica was not the same when I returned because I was not the same. I was still trying to process everything that was downloaded, and I'd struggled with Leah. I'd reached out to her twice while in Costa Rica, and it didn't go well. I came to her with humility, but she was rejecting and couldn't hear me. and we clashed. I could see right away how strong her ego and anger were, and her need to tell me what she knew rather than listen. I left both conversations feeling exhausted and defeated. While I was in Costa Rica, I realized that as long as Leah and I were in a financial situation, we could never heal our relationship. Shortly after I returned, I told her she needed to buy the house she was renting from me. I told her over the next year she needed to talk to the bank and figure out what she needed to do to get the mortgage so we could get out of the financial relationship with one another, so we both could heal. I also felt she would feel better buying the house and ending this complex financial situation with me that wasn't going well. I also told her if she couldn't buy the house, she needed to move somewhere else. I felt that a year was plenty of time for her to work through this. She agreed she would work on her credit score and talk to the bank. Good morning and welcome. We are reading books here. The Child I Left Behind, a great mother daughter book. Over the next month, the call to return to Mama Aya was strong. I knew I had to go back. There was still some unfinished business. I started looking into retreats, and I invited Tom to go with me, and we found a place in Peru called Arcana. I booked our trip for May 2020, and when I returned from Costa Rica at the end of 2020, I heard a lot of chatter about a virus in China that sounded scary, but just like the bird flu and the others, I didn't pay attention. Then, right after I booked my Peru trip, the world shut down due to COVID. I thought it would be only for a few weeks, and by May, surely things would be back to normal and fall into place. Of course, that didn't happen, and I had to postpone my trip. I was disappointed and sad, but I knew as soon as possible I had to return to see her. By January of 2021, after the election, the world seemed to have gone crazy, and I felt like the world would never return to normal again. It was if January 2020, I got on a plane to Costa Rica to do my first ayahuasca ceremony, my first ayahuasca journey, and the world inside out forever changed. I was at a very low point and was searching for answers. I knew I needed to return to see Mama Aya. I got online and found a place in Orlando, Florida, and decided I needed to go right away. In November, right after the election, I had reconnected every with very close friend Bridget, who I hadn't seen in 7 years. During our conversation, I told her I had gone to see Mama Aya and was looking to return for a ceremony. And she told me if I'd found something in the United States, she would go. When I told her about the place in Florida offering weekend ceremonies, she agreed to take the trip with me. We scheduled our trip in February of 2021, and I couldn't wait to see Aya. I had my first trip in May of 2021. So we missed each other by a couple of months, but we did end up meeting. My trip to Rhythmia was luxurious. The place The trip to the place in Florida was more primitive, but after having been on lockdown for a year, I was so happy we were able to even travel to do medicine again. I had learned so much during the last journey, but I knew my healing was not complete. I needed to continue to find the answers. I needed to heal. We signed up for the women's only ceremony with only 25 participants, which was small and intimate, unlike the 100 participants in Rhythmia. That was my ceremony too. My ceremony was a women only ceremony. The third and final ceremony was the most challenging. We stood in the line to get our medicine, and I could feel a little bit of nervousness welling up inside of me. I noticed it and dismissed it. There were some new faces in the group who weren't here the night before, and other faces that were missing. One new girl who was a new arrival, seemed rambunctiously and lively. I noticed her but tried to concentrate inward. I sat down on my mat after receiving my medicine and prayed into the cup. Show me what I need to heal. I had such a beautiful journey during the day ceremony. I was hoping Mama Aya would bring more of the beauty, light, and love that I enjoyed just a few hours earlier. The time came to drink our dose. I took a deep breath, held my nose to keep from tasting the nastiness inside. No way around it. And down it went. Shivers ran through me at the taste, and I took a sip of water to rinse out remnants. I will never get used to the awful bitter taste, I thought. I then went on my mat. Mama Aya came to me as the music played, and instantly it started off with a deep feeling of sadness. I could tell she was coming to this time to get my attention. It was awful. She brought up Leia again. I argued with her. I thought we went through this already. Not this again. I learned quickly you can't fight Mama Aya. She always wins. While in the medicine journey with Mama Aya, she began to show me Leia's life, and all I could see was how awful it was. She showed me how Leah couldn't get her life together. She wouldn't work a regular job that made enough money to sustain herself, and I felt frustrated with her. People were screaming and struggling all around me. The rambunctious lady was screaming and was naked by the fire, and I thought for sure she was going to jump in it. I kept getting distracted and worrying about everyone else. I forgot what I learned at Rhythmia to mind my own business. I was easily distracted and pulled into everything around me. The guilt, shame, and disgust I felt over Leah's decision, over my decision, and how she could just not grow up and be an adult kept rolling over me, over my mind. I was angry at her and at myself. I blamed myself for her pain. I blamed her for not getting the help she needed. I felt if she could get her life together, I could stop hurting. I reflected on how much I helped her, and no matter how much I did or gave, bought, or tried to fix things, it didn't help at all. In fact, it made things worse. Our relationship was strained and had been for years, especially since the moment I bought the house for her to rent. I was optimistic that it would launch Leah into a stable and comfortable life. But the house strained our relationship and enabled her and Brad from getting their lives together. Now Brad had left her, and she was so defeated. I felt I had to help her because of Sydney. I didn't want Sydney to suffer because of her parents couldn't get their life together. I wanted Sydney to have a stable place to live, but I was tired of being this financial relationship with Leah, and I was tired of being aggravated by this all the time. I went over and over and over in my head why this isn't working, I wondered. Why can't they see these opportunities and do better for their lives? Trying to make a donkey drink water at the watering hole. You could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I believe that saying applies to people too. It's exhausting, and I felt frustrated and disappointed in her, and extremely aggravated and agitated that I was dealing with this again. I couldn't handle it. I called for the volunteers to come help. Noriel, a beautiful volunteer, came, and I asked if she could make it stop. She encouraged me to stay with it and work through what Mama Aya was teaching me. But it was too painful, and I couldn't handle it. They'd offered to give me hape, a sacred tobacco medicine that helps to ease the negative feedback loops, but I refused it. I was firm that I just wanted it to end. I wanted to get far away from the endless torture of the negative bombardment of emotions as I could quickly as possible. It was too awful to bear. She brought me a lemon and salt and had me suck on it, and soon I started coming out of the medicine. I took some time to gather my thoughts and went and sat by the fire. I was still struggling, but it wasn't as intense. I blamed myself for helping so much and for so long, creating helplessness and keeping Leah from helping herself. I recognized I had enabled her and kept her from moving forward. I wondered, why can't she just get her shit together? I felt so much anger toward her. I felt like she punished me all the time. What I would later see more clearly was being in a codependent relationship and being an empath. I wanted so badly to fix her because I felt her pain like it was my own. When she was hurt, and I wanted to stop hurting. I eventually was able to see more clearly that helping is codependency, is often the sunny side of control. I wanted to help or control the situation so Leah and Sydney would feel better, so I could finally feel better about the shame, guilt, and self judgment I was carrying around. But at this point, I couldn't see it. Prior to coming to this trip, I contacted Leah and reminded her she needed to get a loan and buy the house, or she would have to move out in 4 months on the 1st of May when her lease is up. She seemed shocked. She argued that she had paid her rent on time all year for the first time. I reminded her and told her the year before, and I wanted out of this financial relationship with her. I wanted her to buy the house, but she refused to take the necessary steps to do it. The interest rates were low. Her payment would have only been $350 a month, way less than her rent, but she had resisted. I'm not sure if she didn't have the confidence to buy the house, didn't value home ownership, or felt scared to take on this responsibility, felt more comfortable living in chaos and poverty, wanted to punish me, didn't feel like she deserved the house, or if she felt like I owed her that house. I just didn't understand or comprehend it. I was just so tired of it all. It made me feel awful. And I knew as long as we were financially in a relationship, we could never heal our relationship. It made me feel really frustrated, taken advantage of, and angry. But I wanted out of this crazy, dysfunctional, codependent situation with her. I sat by the fire and felt the heat of anger boiling inside me. One of the volunteers, named Vanessa, who was a divine angel, came and sat with me and let me process my feelings. She told me I was very judgmental toward Leah. I asked how I could not be. I felt annoyed that she said that to me. How could I not feel judgmental? I felt justified in being judgmental toward her. I didn't have much compassion at all for Leah. I was too angry. I tried to make a case to Vanessa for all the things I had done to help Leah, and all I got back was pain and disappointment. She challenged me and worked with me for over an hour, allowing me to process, and I still couldn't shift. The anger I felt was deep. It would be another 2 years of working through my healing before I could really see how I was projecting the judgment I had toward myself onto Leah. I tried to lie down and sleep, but Mama Aya wouldn't let me. I was so aggravated and frustrated that I was dealing with Leah all night. I regretted it doing this third ceremony after having such a wonderful day. When I couldn't sleep, I got back up and sat with another volunteer and bitched some more about Leah. I explained how I had helped her and how I just kept helping her like it was an addiction. And no matter how much I helped, things got worse. One of the volunteers told me I needed to stop helping. She told me her mother threw her out because she was 24 and she had to sleep in her car, but it was the best thing that ever happened to her. Why y'all make us do stuff like that? I threw I knew from my own experience as a teen, no one was there to help me, and I had to learn young how to survive on my own. And that experience taught me to be self-reliant and independent. It drove me to never be in that situation again. I worked hard to overcome poverty because of being on my own so young. I was driven to never be poor or dependent on anyone else. I would have appreciated someone helping me and giving me a hand up. The night was long and I didn't sleep at all. When I returned home from this ceremony, I began doing some integration groups that were offered by the Ayahuasca Center in Florida. And we met my coach, Penny. We worked together for months and she helped me very much. One day she told me about shadow ceremony and that was offered at the same center. She thought it would help me work through my shadows, those places within that we hide, deny, and repress. I was still struggling with, especially with Leah. In October, that's when I met her, October 2021, I went back to Florida for the shadow ceremony and met Stephen Tuhig and the Shadow Tribe. It was an amazing experience of healing without psychedelic medicine. During this healing journey, I uncovered the depths of my broken heart. I found a part of myself, a little girl who got lost and stuck back in those early years, who was hurt and heartbroken, who was waiting for someone to see her. I learned during my healing journey inward during the ceremony that it was my mother's lack of protection and support for me after her divorce from my dad that crushed me. My mom got lost in herself and survival and I was a casualty of her wounds. I touched a deep part of my shadow, a part of me that I had repressed, hidden, and denied and wasn't consciously aware of. I learned so much about myself through the Shadow Tribe and Stephen Tuhig. It introduced me to a tribe of people who I connected with in a deep way, and their love and support through my journey was medicine for my healing. Stephen's knowledge and genius were instrumental in helping me reach back and help heal the wound of my wounded inner child, and help me recognize so many healing truths about projection and how every trigger begins and ends with me or whoever carries it. Therefore, if I am triggered, it's about me. And if you are triggered, it's about you. I learned the outside world is just a reflection of our inside world. This tribe became my family, and I was able to find true unconditional and acceptance unlike anything I had ever experienced in a family before. They saw me for who I truly am, and I trusted them. Many years earlier, in 2016, when I was struggling and went to Yogaville looking for answers and healing, I met a beautiful Swami, Arivananda. I asked her to pray and give me a spiritual name. She was very humbled by my request, and a few days later, she got back to me and gave me the name of Premanand Anja. I tried it for years, but let the name settle in, but it didn't quite fit. After returning from ayahuasca journey in Florida, I prayed about it, and one night I woke up and God came to me and said, "Your new name is Anjalia." It is pronounced Anjalia. Aha, that's it. Thank you, God. I immediately knew it was right, and I knew I was transitioning from the person I had been. During my early years of life, I was called Angel. She was a tough young girl who was a fighter and a survivor. After I met Tom and began college, I became Angela. She was driven, ambitious, overachiever, and a dynamic creator who built an empire from her strength and determination. And now I was transitioning again into my true, higher, wiser, spiritual self. And Anjalia was a perfect fit. I knew all the parts of me were going to still be within me, but I was ready to move in a new direction. It was scary to think about changing my name, but it was time, and I found a tribe who genuinely loved me. I asked them if I could take my new name with them before I introduced it to the world, and they were very supportive. It gave me a safe place to transition into who I was becoming. In May of 2022, I returned to Florida for another journey with Mama Aya. I had spent a lot of time working on myself and integrating the messages, lessons, insights, and downloads from the work I had gained from the previous journeys with her. I still felt there was more work and knowledge I needed to heal. I could feel Mama Aya calling me back to her, and she was much gentler with me this time. I took a moment to acknowledge how I was here, doing all this inner work, inner healing around the mother wound, with the plant medicine called Mama Aya. And what a healing mother she is. Tears welled, and I took a little time to reserve her in my gratitude. She came to me this time like a loving mother, with comfort and compassion, and showed me how much I had grown since my first encounter with her, nearly 2.5 years earlier. She showed me how much I am loved and how much good I have done in my life, especially with my granddaughter Sydney's life. I told her I carried a lot of guilt for not being a better mother for Leah and blamed myself over the struggles Sydney endured because her mom is so wounded because of my mistakes. Jesus was with Mama Aya, and they both said to me, "You must stop trying to help Leah and Sydney unless they ask you for help. Don't help them. You are disempowering them by continuing to try to fix things for them. You are the problem in this situation." Oh my God, I am the problem. Yet I keep feeding into it. Why? Why can't I stop doing this? You must get out of their way and you need to leave them alone. I allowed it to sink in, but it was difficult. Then I heard Mama Aya again. You robbed others of their gift of giving because you don't know how to receive. I know, Mama Aya, it's just so hard for me to receive. I remember when I was young and poor in Detroit, if I was giving anything, I was always made to feel like I owed someone something for it. Just as that realization came through, a beautiful volunteer named Grace came and gave me so much love, and I was able to receive it. It was so beautiful. As soon as Grace left, I could hear my inner child crying for me. Mama Aya said, "Stop letting her hurt you. Go to her and nurture her." I spent time hugging my inner child. Then Mama Aya said, if you give a gift, give it without expectations or attachment. If you're giving an opportunity that has strings attached, you need to be clear of the expectations. This is where confusion happens. You must ask, how can I give this gift without you feeling like you owe me? And if you are offering an opportunity, be clear and say, this is an opportunity and here are the terms. Jesus then said to me, there is nothing greater than a mother's love. Show that to Leah. I tried, Lord. She doesn't accept it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It's a long chapter. She can't take Leah's suffering away, no matter how hard you try. This is her journey. Just let her know you are here for her when she's ready. You are light and love. Your vibration in a relationship must match, or it won't work. You can only show up with your light and love. And if someone doesn't accept it, it just means they are not ready or able to accept it yet. Send her love and move on. When she is ready, she will find you. She can't pull anyone up unless you want to vibrate higher. I took the information, but still felt sad for her. It was hard to accept that I couldn't fit it or fix it. And it would take more time for me to really hear and own the messages that were given. That concludes chapter 28. We are in 29 now. It took me an hour to read that one chapter. Thank you.